Yeah, man, let's get this started. 76ers come up with a huge victory in the Joel Embiid return. His first game since January 30th, and he only dropped 24 points in 29 minutes. The big man coming up huge. Yeah, sure, did it look like he was laboring at times? Yeah, he looked like a guy who hasn't played in a couple of months, and we know Joel Embiid's history. We're trying to play himself back into shape. It's exactly what the Sixers were doing. We'll go over his minutes. We'll also go over the plan that was in place for the process with Joel Embiid. And right now, you are locked on Philadelphia 76ers, locked on Philadelphia sports on the Locked On Sports Podcast Network. This show is brought to you by the wonderful people at the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Not too shabby. We'll break it all down for you when it comes to Joel Embiid. Another night also without Tyrese Maxey. But with Kelly Oubre stepping up yet again, Sixers are able to help their own process in terms of making the playoffs and where their seeding will be after tonight. Oh, and one last question. I know it's become popular in the Philadelphia sports world with maybe a certain head coach, but let's talk about Tobias Harris. What is it you say you do here? You're locked on Philadelphia sports.
You are Locked On 76ers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Philadelphia, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Woo! My, oh my, did not expect what I saw tonight from Joel Embiid. Welcome in once again. My name is Mark Farzetti. You see it right there at the bottom of the screen. Welcome in to the 76ers postcast here on the Locked On Sports Network. Make sure you like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff on the YouTube channel, as well as check it out wherever you get your podcast. Let's start it off with Joel Embiid and what the expectations were. First off, we followed the Woj bombs over the last 48 hours as to whether or not Joel Embiid would be coming back, when he would come back, and how often you would see him in the game, what his minute allotment would be like. We have been more than familiar as 76ers fans with load management in the past with Joel Embiid. I expected him to be around 20, 25 minutes. He ended up logging 29 minutes of play tonight. And from the jump, from get-go, he looked like he was laboring. 4 minutes were logged. Here's what it came down to with Nick Nurse and whatever the plan was going for Joel Embiid. First quarter, plays 4 minutes, goes out there, and he gets taken out after 4 minutes. In those first 4 minutes, all I wanted to see good movement on the court from Joel Embiid. I wanted to trust the knee from Joel Embiid. I wanted to see how he was going to be coming along and coming out with that knee issue, being that he was just coming off that meniscus surgery, but he'd been ramping up to this moment to actually go out there and play. So he plays 4 minutes. What happens in those 4 minutes? Well, I'll tell you what happened in those 4 minutes. In those first 4 minutes, Joel Embiid did not shy away from contact. He came out going to attack the basket. He missed his first shot, but then he scrambled for a loose ball, didn't get on the floor for it, but he was able to beat a man to a spot to pick up that basketball. He was able to hit a shot over a double team there in the corner for his first points since January 30th when he played against the Golden State Warriors and suffered that final blow to his left knee. And then you saw him not run the length of the court just before he was taken out for the first time 4 minutes into that first quarter. Hands on his knees, Nick Nurse. You hear the horn go off. Joel Embiid comes out. You see KJ Martin come in. Then with about a minute and 30 left in the first quarter, Joel Embiid goes back into the game where he helps the Sixers close it out. In the second quarter, he comes out at the 5:15 mark of the game, goes back into the 3:20 mark of the second quarter. Third quarter, he goes out at the 5:17 mark of the third quarter, doesn't come back in. He goes out and he plays in the fourth quarter. He gets taken out at the 5:30 mark, and then they let him pretty much let loose for the final 4 minutes and 30 seconds of that game. They needed him for every ounce of it. Look, 24 points is nice. 29 minutes is a little surprising for me, but glad to see that he was up to play. And then absolutely in the final minutes of that game, final seconds of that game, getting to the line to knock down 2 free throws in order to help the 76ers lock up that victory against the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. That's all great. But the most important thing of all of it in this first game back was just look healthy. That's it, just look healthy. We have been all too familiar with Joel Embiid playing himself back into shape throughout his career here in Philadelphia, and really, especially throughout the postseason, whether that be the shoulder of Markelle Fultz breaking his face like it did a couple of years ago, whether it be gastroenteritis against the Raptors, whether it be last year coming back from injury, trying to dig down deep and making sure he can give this team enough to help get him over the hump. He has had to play himself back into shape. Jimmy Butler, the year they lost to Jimmy Butler and the Heat and the playoffs, he had to play himself back into shape, coming back from a concussion of all things. We know Joel Embiid needs to play himself back into shape. We know he needs to get in that game shape, and the only way he does that is if he actually plays basketball. So, Nick Nurse, I did not expect him to take the reins off nearly as much as he did tonight for Joel Embiid, but that's exactly what you saw from Nick Nurse and the 76ers front office deciding to let Joel Embiid go out there for 29 minutes. Now, here's the thing. I know some people might have some concern. I know some people might have some worry about Joel Embiid and playing this many minutes. I get it. I do not think there is any world where the Sixers would make such a horrible decision into unleashing him, rushing him back, and then saying, oh, yeah, he's fine after this. Just, yeah, no worries. They would not jeopardize what could happen this season. And granted, I don't have high hopes or delusions about what the 76ers team could do in the very near future, but they're not going to risk whatever chance they have of making it out of the Eastern Conference or at this point making it out of the play-in tournament. And we'll get into their status right now as far as the playoffs go and the postseason and play-in tournament go. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But as of right now, they're not going to roll the dice on anything that could potentially happen to round out this season. And they're certainly not going to roll the dice on what could happen this off season, whether that means Joel Embiid getting the proper rest that he needs after the season, and then being able to come out and start out next year healthy with Tyrese Maxey on this club, having taken this huge leap forward this season, becoming an all-star, the post-Tobias Harris era 76ers as well, and maybe Kelly Oubre developing himself into a player that this 76ers team certainly needs, not to mention maybe a free agent acquisition made in this offseason by Daryl Morey. So plenty to get into when it comes to what could happen in the near future and then next year with the Philadelphia 76ers. But when you look at Joel Embiid's performance tonight, everything that I saw tonight from Embiid, I loved. Every mistake that he made, and there were mistakes. 76ers were terrible in the turnover game tonight against a team that doesn't seem to ever turn the basketball over in the OKC Thunder. But the Sixers tonight certainly had their mistakes. Embiid had his share. But the mistakes I saw from him tonight were mistakes that I was expecting. He looked like a guy who, again, has not played basketball since January 30th. Everything that I saw tonight from him, I expected on the mistake front. When it came to actual production, I did not expect that kind of offensive production from Joel Embiid in this basketball game. Again, you go through the numbers just with Joel Embiid tonight. 24 points scored for the 76ers big man and reigning MVP, 6 of 14 from the field, 12 of 12 from the charity stripe, which is how we know Joel Embiid can acquire those points. Pad the stats, as they say, foul hunting, as some might accuse him of, but he gets 24 points. The only Sixer that outscored him tonight was Kelly Oubre, who came up with 25 points, and what a night for Kelly Oubre, which brings me into the second topic of conversation tonight. Kelly Oubre comes off an incredible game, 32 points against the Raptors in a game where the Sixers knocked down 24 points in Toronto. They get Embiid back in the lineup. Maxey's still out. Now, you pretty much knew Maxey wasn't going to be playing in this game. It was kind of iffy, maybe an hour and a half before tip-off tonight. Oh, Joel Embiid's back. Is he going to participate in shoot-around? Is he going to actually return tonight? There was a report from ESPN saying that it could be tonight, and then a confirmed report from ESPN saying he's definitely playing tonight. And then Joel Embiid, with the 76ers putting it out there on social media, saying, I'm back. Simple as that. And he was back. But Maxey, we kind of knew wasn't going to have to play or wasn't going to play. So we knew somebody else was going to have to step up. And who stepped up again? Kelly Oubre stepped up again for this Sixers team, especially when you get into that third and fourth quarter. They needed someone to rise to the occasion, not named Joel Embiid. And who was that guy? Well, that guy was Kelly Oubre. Tonight, 4 for 7 from beyond the arc, including back-to-back threes that he had to keep the Sixers in the ballgame when Joel Embiid was taking his rest there in the fourth quarter. Kelly Oubre has been so much better than advertised. And really over the last month of the season, while we've all been watching Tyrese Maxey mature and become this hell of a basketball player, an all-star and all that, and continue to take major steps forward with his maturation process in Philadelphia, Kelly Oubre has started to really wiggle himself in there as the number 3 scorer on this team. And without Joel Embiid wiggling his way in to be the number 1 or number 2 scorer on this team. And without Tyrese Maxey or Joel Embiid, the number 1 scorer on this team. Now, let's certainly hope play-in tournament or playoffs, Kelly Oubre isn't having to wiggle his way to that number 1 scorer again. But tonight, he was the Sixers' number 1 scorer, and he came up clutch in that third quarter and fourth quarter for the Sixers. Really, that second half push was something fantastic. At one point, when he got to just the 20-point mark, 12 of his 20 points had come in that fourth quarter. That was a sight for sore eyes when it came to the Sixers pushing. Overall, in the turnover battle, Joel Embiid, it's unfortunate, but it's true. The turnovers are going to be a thing with him, especially when he's controlling the basketball as many times as he is controlling it. Oubre tonight only came up with 2 turnovers, only gave it away twice. Nico Batum, a couple of tough turnovers. And I know, now here's the thing, and I'm looking at the box score right now. When I saw, I think it was at halftime that Tobias Harris was leading the Sixers in scoring, and at the time I think he just had 17 points. I was like, he scored 17 points? That was a very quiet 17 points from Tobias Harris. Where the hell did that come from? And then sure enough, Tobias Harris goes out there and is ice cold in the second half of play, including a airball 3 and then a 3 that almost got pinned between the rim and the backboard. So not great for Tobias Harris. I know the numbers look nice. This is where the box score doesn't tell the whole story. Clutch moments there for Tobias Harris. We'll get into it coming up in the next segment. If Sixers are going to make any noise, they need to be clicking on all cylinders here. Not just a healthy Joel Embiid, not just Tyrese Maxey coming back from a hip stiffness, hip tightness, I believe is what it's being called. Okay. Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, Kyle Lowry, Buddy Hield. If you want to get past the Bucks, if you're going to draw the Bucks, if you want to get past the Celtics, if you end up facing the Celtics again, who of course have been your Achilles heel, your kryptonite, then you need everybody clicking on all cylinders for this 76ers team to take as much of that load management away from Joel Embiid, make it as easy as an easy opportunity as possible for him to come back and actually get back to full-blown domination for 35 to 40 minutes in the postseason. That's the goal here. So far, Sixers get a win. Beautiful thing. Joel Embiid looks like he is absolutely 100% healthy. It's just a matter of conditioning, getting up to par. We're going to pause. I'm going to tell you about a great sponsor we have here on the program. And also, we're going to get into Tobias Harris's night. When it comes to everybody clicking on all cylinders for the postseason and who you're going to need to be going, Tobias Harris certainly one of them. Like I said, we'll get into some of those moments where he could have made things a lot easier for his 76ers teammates. We'll break that down coming up in a second. You are locked on Philadelphia Sports. My name is Mark Farzetta. We'll be back in just a second. And now is a wonderful time, ladies and gentlemen, to tell you about some people that can certainly help you out quite a bit, more than most, actually. And these are people because, we all talk at times about airing our grievances when it comes to the Philadelphia sports scene, when it comes to maybe our favorite player being traded, when it comes to maybe a rival getting that favorite player. Those are things that we talk about often, openly. Well, sometimes there's things that we keep a little bit closer to the vest. And BetterHelp is here for those more personal topics. BetterHelp, that's BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, BetterHelp is here to help you in the world of therapy. I know everyone, they always like that. They always have that hot take on therapy. Is it good? Is it bad? Can it help you? This can really help. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports teams, and it's important to get those problems off of our chest every once in a while. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. BetterHelp is the way to go. And how about this? Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Locked On NBA at BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. It's a fantastic way to help you out for those problems that you need to talk about with a professional. BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA. So let's get into Tobias Harris here for a second, shall we? Because if you look at the way this game was going in that third quarter and in that fourth quarter, as I mentioned, you needed somebody to be able to help Joel Embiid, help Kelly Oubre. And unfortunately, when you look at Tobias Harris, especially with 39 seconds left in the game, Sixers are trailing by a point. You know what they need? They need a hero. And who was trying to step up by knocking down some shots? Tobias Harris. You know who wasn't knocking down those shots? Tobias Harris. Missed a three, got the ball back, missed another three, missed a bunny in the lane, and wasn't able to get that to go for him. Had a bad turnover late in the game as well. He tried to find Nicholas Batum, threw a high pass to him. Nico Batum ended up throwing essentially an interception that went the other way for a big slam dunk for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And he is trying to find ways to help this team win. And there are first half players and there are second half players. And Tobias Harris seems at best to be a first half player if they get any half out of him whatsoever. And I know a lot of people in Philadelphia have had their issues with Tobias Harris. They have had big problems with Tobias Harris throughout his time here in Philadelphia. And talking to a lot of people, some of the beat writers with the squad as well. I mean, you talk about Keith Pompey, who does Locked On 76ers podcast. I'm sure you guys are checking that out daily. When it comes to Tobias Harris, this guy is an enigma because you have seen him play very seldom, granted, at high levels. And then supposedly he is sacrificing his own touches, his own ability to make others around him better and give the other flashy numbers to teammates surrounding him. Well, when it's just Kelly Oubre and it's just Joel Embiid and you're supposed to be at worst number 3, you should be one of the guys stepping up there late in the fourth quarter. Not just one without Joel Embiid and Kelly Oubre, but you as well, Tobias Harris. Now, do they need those points in the first half? Absolutely. But you know what they don't need? They don't need air balls. They don't need turnovers. They don't need bricked threes in those situations, especially when you're wide open. How Tobias Harris is getting the ball in clutch moments, is beyond me. I mean, you got to talk about a guy that has to do it consistently in order to help this basketball team win games. And Tobias Harris has not been that guy. The guy who keeps on climbing the charts for me is Kelly Oubre. Now, early in the season, I talked about Kelly Oubre a lot, and I talked about him in a way that he turned into a guy that was almost a vacuum playing out there. Very rarely, even when they got Buddy Hield, and Buddy Hield was knocking down threes left and right in his first couple weeks as a 76er before he hit a little bit of a slide. Kelly Oubre wasn't hitting them at the top of the key when he was wide open. You have Buddy Hield open. You have Kyle Lowry open. You have guys open on the perimeter, and you're driving the lane into a double team trying to get the N1. Hey, look, not always the worst thing in the world, but I wouldn't mind seeing Buddy Hield get that opportunity to knock down a three. I wouldn't mind Kyle Lowry doing that or Tyrese Maxey getting that opportunity. And so many times you saw Kelly Oubre just drive blindly to the rim, looking to get the contact. Again, not the worst thing in the world, but when you got the open shot out there in the three-point happy league that we're all watching nowadays, you want to see them take advantage of it. He wasn't doing that. I don't know if it's something that he had to push himself through in order to get to this version of Kelly Oubre, but this is the version we've been waiting for, especially since Joel Embiid's been out of the Sixers lineup. This is the version of Kelly Oubre that we've been waiting for while Tyrese Maxey was really running things. And if you really break it down, you look at Kelly Oubre's numbers over the last couple of games and how they have been on the rise. And then you also think about the way that he has been contributing to victories for this Sixers team, seldom victories without Joel Embiid, dropping from a 5 seed in the Eastern Conference to a play-in tournament team as of right now. You see Tyrese Maxey in February, the first month without Joel Embiid in full. You saw Tyrese Maxey go from a 24.5 points per game scorer to almost 27 points per game scorer. That's a pretty big leap for a point guard like Tyrese Maxey, also just finding his way in the NBA to that all-star status. And then in March, you start to see Kelly Oubre come on a little bit, and with that, you start to see Tyrese Maxey's numbers go a little bit down just in terms of overall production and points per game. While Oubre has been improving and helping with that workload for the 76ers, especially in the scoring aspect of it, you have seen him continue to help this team in clutch moments. And that, to me, is what speaks volumes when you're talking about praising one player in Oubre and wondering what is going on in another player's head like Tobias Harris. Some other Sixers that definitely deserve the shout out tonight. Well, first off, Ben, I mentioned the turnovers. I have to mention the turnovers because this is just bonkers. Sixers have another good night from beyond the arc, over 46% from beyond the arc, so another good night there. 92% from the free throw line, which is just bonkers incredible. And then this is what really gets me here. Total turnovers in the game had an about face in the fourth quarter. Going into the fourth quarter, Sixers were leading that category about 15-7. It ended up actually evening out a little bit, with the Sixers putting a clamp on it and protecting that basketball a little bit more. 18 turnovers in total for the game to the Oklahoma City Thunder, coming up with 15 total in the game. Sixers able to get 23 points off those turnovers. Huge difference there in the fourth quarter in the Sixers' favor. I also like the fact that the Sixers did trail at different parts of this game. Sixers did threaten to come back into this game and take control, and then the Thunder would just come roaring back, and they'd build up another 10-point lead, whatever the case may be. The most they led in the game was only 13, so it wasn't a huge differential there. But when you're worried about how much you're going to be getting from Joel Embiid down the stretch, it was a bit of a concern. Without Kelly Oubre coming down, knocking down those threes like he did in the fourth quarter, we're talking about a totally different ball game here. But yeah, the turnovers ended up evening themselves out there, which was great. And as far as the rest of the squad went, I want to make sure I give them their proper due, especially late in that game. But Paul Reed came up with a huge steal and dunk on Chet Holmgren. By the way, is Chet Holmgren Abe Lincoln? He's looking more and more like Abe Lincoln. Just saying is all. Abe Lincoln in his prime, obviously. But that's what he's looking like. Oubre actually ended up leading all scorers with those 25 points. It was great to see for him. But outside of that, off the bench, Reed came up with 12 points and 9 rebounds. Good night for him. Nico Batum knocked down 1-3 for the Sixers. It was a clutch one as well. He came up with 7 points in the game. Buddy Hield knocked down a 3, 2 of 6 from the field. 1 of 2 from beyond the arc. Came up with 7 points in total. You like to see it there for the Sixers. But as far as that final stretch goes, Nico Batum, with about 4:40 left in the game, knocked down a 3 to make it a 98-93 game, and the Sixers started to crawl their way back and actually establishing some rhythm in this game. Just when that happened, after Batum knocked down that 3, Sixers get a very brief 5-point run here, more or less. Oubre, actually a 7-point run. Oubre came down, knocked down a 3, made it 94-86, then, or excuse me, 96-90 with back-to-back threes there. Batum hit a 3, made it 98-93. Reed got the steal and slam on Holmgren. It was 98-95. Holmgren came back and was able to get the N1 there to make it a 101-97 game. Embiid checks back into the game at the 4-minute mark. Oubre comes up the steal and the slam. It's 101-99 with 3:42 left. Lowry draws a charge, ends up being huge right there. Embiid gets a great dish from Oubre, is able to tie it. It's 101-101 with 3:20 left in the game. Oubre gets a dunk, and the N1 converts it for a 3-point play. It's 104-103. About 3 minutes left in the game. This is where I really felt the Sixers starting to take control. That's when Harris missed a 3, and then Embiid goes to the line with 24 seconds left. A little bit more than 24 seconds left, and hits both free throws to be able to ice the game for the Sixers, 108-105. Also, another thing that was incredible. For a guy logging his first minutes in February, March, 2.5 months almost. Wow. A little over 2 months, rather. Joel Embiid picked the pocket of Giddey, dribbled down the lane, and was able to get the free throws to go. It was challenged to no avail, and he was able to get the free throws to ice it 108-105. More than I expected from Joel Embiid in his first game back, but damn am I happy to see it. All right, coming up, we're going to take a look at the playoff standings for the Philadelphia 76ers and how this impacts the Sixers after a night like tonight against OKC. We'll be back in just a second. Now I got to tell you about, I love these people, and I use this app. This is a great app. If you don't use it, you need to use it. The Game Time app, ladies and gentlemen. The only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You could see the view of your seat from your phone, and you could buy right then and there. All-in pricing as well, so there's no surprises. The cost is all up front. No, like, oh, these tickets are only $20. Okay, cool. What, service fees $1,000? What? Okay, maybe that's a little exaggerated, but you get it. It's all-in pricing. You can buy the tickets in seconds with just two taps right there. 2 tips would be odd, but 2 taps is where it's at. So many ways to save money on tickets, no matter how and when you buy. They have last-minute ticket deals. They got ticket deals for even after an hour after the event starts. So if you want to go to the game, you want to go to the concert, you want to go to the comedy show, whatever it is, Game Time app has got you covered. And like I said, an hour after the event starts, that's mega savings right there. You might miss the opener. You might miss the middle act. You want to see the headliner anyway, right? Game Time app. They have flash ticket deals, sponsored ticket deals on football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. Also, zone deals where you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for big savings. And how about this? The Game Time guarantee. All right? The Game Time guarantee. Listen to this. You'll always get the best price. That's the Game Time guarantee. If you find somehow magically seats in the same section and row for less money, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That right there is the Game Time guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. That's promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Use the code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed on the Game Time app. So as of right now, you're 10-9-8 76ers. If you look at the playoff standings, is looking, what did I say? Early 108? 109, excuse me, 109 to 105 for your 76ers. I didn't include the last free throw from Joel Embiid, mi scusi. But great to see that from the Sixers getting that win. So here's what it looks like right now for your playoff standings in the NBA's Eastern Conference. When you talk about the play-in tournament, it's a dangerous thing because one of the things the Sixers have benefited from over the last couple of years is obviously being a 1, 2, or 3 seed in the NBA playoffs where they don't have to face Boston early. They don't have to face the Bucks early. They face the more bottom-tier teams. Now, has it helped him in the second round? No, obviously not. But at least getting into that second round, it's helped him. So as of right now, if the season ended today, the 76ers would host or would take on, the Miami Heat, who they face for the next game. They would take on the Miami Heat. Winner of that would go on to play the Bulls versus Hawks, again, if the season ended today. And then from that, you would go on to the playoffs. Do you want to face the Pacers? Do you want to face the Knicks? Do you want to face the Magic? Do you want to face the Cleveland Cavaliers? Here's what I know about this. I don't want the Bucks. I don't want the Celtics. Sixers winning tonight obviously inches them a little bit closer to that 7 seed. And then what did you know? The Pacers are only up there 2 games better than the 76ers are right now. Just 2 games better than the 76ers. And looking at the schedule, the Pacers got a nice little cakewalk for themselves. They got back-to-back games against the Nets, including a 133-111 victory that they had, and then they draw them again. So these next 2 games are going to be tough for the 76ers, obviously, and trying to get up a little bit closer to that 6th playoff seed in the Eastern Conference and out of the play-in tournament. Here's what makes me confident, and this is the easiest way to put it. The 76ers right now with Joel Embiid playing the way he played tonight is the best possible gift we could have gotten, bar none, before the postseason. It's obvious as anything, but Joel Embiid playing healthy, and the only big problem with him tonight being that he had his hands on his knees a little too often and he was hunched over. I'll take that problem. You know what problem I couldn't take tonight? Hey, my knee's a little wonky tonight. I don't think I can play tonight. That's something that I could have done without tonight. And guess what? We didn't get that. So tonight's a very good night. The fact that they won, gravy for the 76ers. Love that. Look at everything else with the Sixers as far as everything else goes for those standings. Like I said, the Sixers will have the Heat coming up. Believe that game is it's Thursday night. They'll be playing, traveling to Miami for that one. So the Sixers will have a lot of work cut out for them as the season winds down to hopefully get everything going for themselves. Need to see the momentum established for the Sixers as the season winds down. That's where I'm at as far as the Sixers go. A couple other things I wanted to make sure I got in for tonight. The two-man game. I was very curious to see how this was going to play out, especially without Tyrese Maxey. But here's what you had. Joel Embiid, especially in the first 4 minutes that he was playing, and then I saw it a lot again in the second quarter with him and Kyle Lowry on the court at the same time again. The two-man game at the top of the key worked great with Kyle Lowry and Joel Embiid. Then seeing Kelly Oubre and Joel Embiid run that two-man game at the top of the key, pick and rolls galore, and then also little jumpers at the foul line for Joel Embiid, space that was created there thanks to those, dribble handoff and all that. I thought that was working beautifully. One of the concerns, so let's see. Joel Embiid looked healthy. Check, looked healthy. Joel Embiid playing himself into shape. As expected, he's got to play himself into shape. Third, Buddy Hield's been added to the team. Kyle Lowry's been added to the team. Kelly Oubre and him really haven't played together without Tyrese Maxey being there. So now they have that opportunity to get that experience of playing with each other again. For me, I needed to see how his work was going to be with the guards on the floor. And when I saw that two-man game developing as smoothly as it did, it was very easy. It looked like they had been playing together for years. It wasn't a big concern with me because when you think about Joel Embiid's career, think about all the different guys he's played with already. I mean, I say already, the guy's 30, so it's not like he just got in the league yesterday, but just think about the different versions of the team that have been in that starting lineup, just the starting lineup for him. Go from Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, and James Harden, and Tyrese Maxey. Just think of all the guys he's already played with in the guard position in the starting five. It's pretty bonkers when you think about it. He's used to getting used to different players. It was fluid. Kyle Lowry's 38 years old now. Kyle Lowry knows what it's like to play with different players. I didn't think it was going to be a problem for him. It didn't look like a problem at all with Kelly Oubre. They already had some experience together, obviously. For me, I didn't expect it to be this easy, but it looked easy as anything, watching those guys play together, especially the top of the key with the two-man game there. The other thing, Joel Embiid's handle. There's a couple of different instances, especially later in the game, where you saw Joel Embiid start to go between his legs a little bit, try to create some space. He had a good jab step working for him tonight, and that's something that he's really been reliant on. He had a step-back three that didn't go for him, but that's something we saw him use more and more ever since he did play with James Harden, and he started to make that a little bit more of his game. But overall, the fluidity will come. The fluidity with the teammates, I didn't expect to just be there. And it certainly looks like it was just there. Next up for the Sixers, Thursday night, we'll see what happens when it comes to Tyrese Maxey getting back out there on the court with the 76ers big man. But I know I'm looking forward to it. And you know what? As per usual, right here on the Philly Sports Locked On YouTube channel, you guys can check it all out. If there's a big game going on, we're going to be talking about it on the POSTCAST. So make sure you guys check us out here on the POSTCAST. Once again, don't forget, we're brought to you by the great people on the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. That's the program. Make sure you guys are tuned into 76ers, Locked On 76ers podcast with my man Keith Pompey. And of course, for our Phillies fans out there, hell of a win by the Phillies tonight over the Reds. Bryce Harper, 3 home runs, including a grand slam. I know Connor Thomas is going to have a lot to talk about on the Phillies, Locked On Phillies podcast as well. So make sure you guys are checking them out as part of the Locked On family. Make sure you guys are checking that out. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow, hopefully talking about a Phillies victory this time around. Catch you guys then. See ya.